Another kind of warplane is making stops in Las Vegas. These are spy planes involved in the war against terrorists. Human rights advocates say the secret teams on board are using extreme techniques of coercion, even torture, on suspects. George Knapp of the I-Team is here with the exclusive story.
Paula, this is the story of so-called rendition planes, otherwise known as torture taxis. They are civilian aircraft, often owned by companies suspected of being fronts for the CIA. The planes are used to travel abroad, kidnap suspects, and take them to dark places at the ends of the earth from which few ever return. It sounds like a faraway intrigue, except these alleged torture planes have made Las Vegas a regular pit stop. We've got the video to prove it. The Beech B-200 that flew into the North Las Vegas airport on a warm July afternoon looked a lot like all the other private planes that land every few minutes. But this one had a block on it, meaning it was extremely difficult to track its movements. We watched as its pilot unloaded bag after bag and then loaded them all into a waiting Clark County van. The identity of the pilot isn't known, but we know plenty about the plane.
These planes show up in and around Las Vegas fairly regularly. The Beechcraft, I believe, that you photographed we see a lot of. It's quite clearly controlled by the CIA, if not outrightly owned by the CIA.
These are flights between Washington, Dulles.
Trevor Paglin is a doctoral candidate at UC Berkeley and the author of this book about the so-called torture taxis, or what the CIA calls rendition planes.
What this means in normal English is kidnapping people.
Prior to the events of 9/11, the CIA used rendition planes to snatch terror suspects and bring them to the U.S. for trial. After 9/11, in the words of one CIA official, the gloves came off. Today, there are no trials, no extraditions. Using an ever-changing array of fictitious companies, the CIA has created a fleet of rendition planes that have been used to kidnap and then transport hundreds of suspected terrorists to secret prisons operating inside the world's most brutal regimes. The prisons have been described as hellholes, where horrible tortures are inflicted. Surrogates do the dirty work so the Americans can deny involvement.
Ripping people's fingernails out, slicing their genitals with scalpels, and that sort of thing.
It can be argued that America needs to be tough on terrorists, but too often the wrong guys get scooped up and tortured. Khalid El-Masri, a German citizen, was kidnapped off the street and flown to a secret prison near Kabul, Afghanistan. He was tortured for 5 months, but was released after his tormentors realized they had the wrong guy. Al-Masri filed a lawsuit against the U.S. government, as well as against a Reno, Nevada company called Keeler and Tate, the listed owner of the plane used to transport him. The plane is so well known to aviation watchers that it has a nickname, the Guantanamo Express. Keeler and Tate, by the way, is a company in name only. Its listed owner doesn't exist. Before the plane was transferred to this company, it was owned by other phony companies linked to the CIA. The same is true for this Gulfstream jet we spotted in October at McCarran's executive terminal. It used to be owned by Braxton Management, but was recently sold to a Montana LLC. Its numbers have been changed, but this is the same plane that's a regular fixture on the rendition route, repeatedly visiting places known to house secret prisons. It's also a Las Vegas regular, often jumping from McCarran to Nellis and back, sometimes staying only a few minutes. The little Beechcraft seen at North Las Vegas, that one's owned by Aviation Specialties, another shell company widely known as a CIA front. Why the rendition planes are visiting here so often is anyone's guess, but there's little doubt they're part of a program that has ignited scorn and disgust all over the world.
The question's not who are they. We already know that a lot of these guys are bad guys. The question is who are we? Are we going to become like them? We're saying yes, this is who we are. Yes, we want to be torturing people. Yes, we want to be disappearing people. We're going to do it out in the open, and this is going to become a normal part of what the U.S. government does, and that is very frightening.
Some of America's strongest allies in Europe are demanding an end to rendition flights after incidents in which teams of masked agents kidnap citizens right off the streets and without seeking any legal authority to act. By the way, it seems unlikely that any terrorists are being transported through Las Vegas. It's more likely the flights come here to arrange meetings with high-level foreigners who might be here on vacation or to transport counterterrorism teams, possibly for training at the test site. The planes are used for things other than renditions. If you'd like more information on this really interesting topic, you can check out our website, like LasVegasNow.com.
Aside from the human rights concerns, a lot of people think torture doesn't produce real information.
Well, all those guys we showed you their faces who were the wrong guys picked up confessed. They told them all kinds of things that turned out to not be true,
Yeah.
only because they wanted to be stopped torturing.
Thank you, George.
Sure.